Good evening and welcome to Sports Federation TV. My name is Alton Davids. I'm your host. As you know, the show is about who and what makes sport happen in Cape Town and the Greater Western Cape. We talk a range of different codes of sport. We chat sailing, rugby, football, softball, even kickboxing. And tonight we're joined in studio by Mr. Anthony Kettle, Vice Chairman of Western Cape Kickboxing. You well?
Oh, very well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Good. Kickboxing has taken off in leaps and bounds in the Western Cape, Anthony.
Absolutely.
From the furthest part of Cape Town down south all the way into Delft, you've got a big club that's brewing there. Tell us a bit about some of the things that's happening in kickboxing at the moment.
Well, a lot's gone into development over 2015. We've opened 4 or 5 new development clubs. We put a lot of effort into developing the sport last year, and there's a lot of competition happening, which is great.
So the clubs are based where? Give us a sense of where the clubs are.
Well, we've basically got everywhere. So, ranging from your areas all the way, we basically start from the West Coast. So the first club from the West Coast side in Western Province side would be in Atlantis. Then we got in Parklands. We got all over the northern suburbs. We got in Mitchells Plain, Delft. All over the southern suburbs. There's basically a club in any suburb.
And these clubs feed into the Western Cape team. How strong is the Western Cape team generally in terms of the big picture in terms of South Africa?
Well, the Western Cape team is very strong. In terms of full contact kickboxing, K1, we're the strongest team in the country. And took home the most medals in the South African Championships with the K1.
Explain the difference between full contact and semi-contact. What's the difference so people get a sense of?
Well, kickboxing has different codes. They have the K1, which is the full contact K1 where you're allowed to kick to the legs and you're allowed to use your knees.
Do you have protective gear on there?
Yes, absolutely. You've got shin pads, a head guard, gloves, and your mouthpiece. And then you get your kickboxing, your conventional kickboxing with long pants, where you have to kick above the waist, a certain amount of kicks. Guys also with their gloves, shin pads, mouth guard, foot covered with a padding. And then you get your semi and light contacts, which are matted sports, not in the ring. So it covers all codes really. The general progression would be a youngster would come into a club, do semi or light, and then start his full contact kickboxing, and then eventually go into K1.
And this is all in the amateur division.
This is all in the amateur division, yes.
So let's say I make it big and I win every bout that I participate in, win the K1. What's next for me?
Well, the biggest promotion in the Western Cape is Cape Fight League. We're having a professional event on the 26th of March
where will that
this
be?
Year at Sunningdale Sports Centre, and that's a professional K1 event. So your kickboxers' next step after amateur would be professional, and then they would sign up with one of the promoters and enter as a professional kickboxer.
Take us through the dynamics of Cape Fight League, because it's not only kickboxing that's involved.
Look, Cape Fight League is a multidisciplined platform. We have kickboxing, K1 kickboxing, professional boxing, and MMA. And this year we're starting a grappling league as well. So it basically works on a rotation basis. 26th of March will be a professional kickboxing event. 9th of April we're having a professional boxing event, which will probably be held at the Muizenberg Civic Centre.
Okay. Let's take a look and see what Cape Fight League is all about. Let's check this out. You're watching Sports Federation TV. We're chatting Cape Fight League, we're chatting kickboxing, we're chatting MMA, we're chatting a range of different elements all wrapped into one. Anthony, kickboxing, Cape Fight League is all part of one big package. And as you said, you start with amateur kickboxing, building up into the Cape Fight League.
Correct.
That clip showed a range of different physiques.
Yes.
And often the misperception is you need to be all muscular, you need to have a six-pack to compete. Is that the case?
Look, once you're at your professional level and you're a professional athlete, you would need to be in good shape. But, you know, kickboxing is for everybody. You know, it's not just for the elite athletes. So, you know, you could participate in any level of kickboxing. You know, we do fight in weight divisions. So if you are overweight, you're going to fight in a higher division, which means, you know, you're probably going to fight somebody taller with a longer reach than you. So it would put you at a disadvantage. But the sport is for everybody.
Tell us a bit about some of the bouts that we just saw in that clip.
Yes, that was a mixture of amateur, pro-am and professional fights. Your amateur would be your guys that are just getting into the sport, and you know that's part of our development. And then our pro-am is or super-am is basically the division in between pro. It's preparing the guys for professionals. So once you've had 15, 20 fights, you're allowed to fight pro-am. What happens then is your head guard comes off, your shin pads stay on, you're still fighting at 10-ounce gloves, still the mouth guard. Once you've had 9 or 10 pro-am fights, then you can register and become a pro and fight on the pro circuit. And then the shin pads come off as well. So you need to be properly conditioned for it and ready for that.
And what kind of prize money if you're a pro, or how does it work?
Look, it's negotiated on a per promotion or per promoter per event. The guys normally enter quite low prize money, same as boxing, same as any professional sport. And as your amount of fights and your ranking goes up, you become more expensive to the promoter. So, you know, your manager would approach the promoter, you'd say, okay, I've got this professional. You'd come in at probably 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 for your first fight. And, you know, it goes up from there depending on how experienced you are.
What's the recovery period between fights? I mean, you're going to get clobbered in the ring. Let's say you win the 1,500 ring. How soon is the recovery, or how long is the recovery phase before you come back and you compete again?
Look, if there's no injuries, you can fight once a month, you know, if we're talking professional. If there are any injuries, you would get a recommendation. So if you got a headshot, you were knocked out, you know, you're not allowed to train or compete or be in the ring at all for 6 weeks. So, you know, it depend on your injury or the circumstances. But if there's no injury, look, the guys don't only know how to hit hard, but they also know how to block and not get hit when they're on the professional level. It kind of doesn't become, or it's not two people standing in front of each other swinging wildly. It's very skilled, and the guys are not only punching, but also trying not to get punched. They know how to block, they know how to duck, they know how to bob, weave, and block. And their bodies are conditioned. They're training 3, 4, 5 hours a day, you know.
Which leads me to two questions. We'll tackle them one at a time. One is related to the scoring. So how do you score? And then we'll leave that as a second question. My first question to you then is there a mental component to this? Because as you just said, you need to then block and plan your shots. Tell me a bit about that.
Well, the scoring system first is a 10-9 system. So you have 3 judges sitting around the ring. They will score the fight 10 or 9, 10 to the winner or 9 to the loser of the round, depending on who performed better. If they do draw, it goes to who had the better technique, who was moving forward, and a whole list of different things. The 3 judges' scorecards get collected at the end of the fight. It goes to the referee. The referee takes it to the head table, and the person with the most points would win that fight. In terms of the mental preparation, it's as important, if not more important, than the physical preparation. Because if you truly don't believe that you are the best, you're going to struggle in the ring and you're not going to win your fight. I've seen many people come in that aren't mentally prepared. They're physically strong, and you know, they do very well in the amateurs, but they don't perform at all in the pros because they're just not mentally prepared for it. You need to be 18 to turn pro. And that's just a part of the mental preparation in getting into the pros.
How do people find out more about kickboxing?
they can basically go onto Google kickboxing and their area. You'll pick up any of the clubs, or you can go into the Western Province Kickboxing Association Facebook page and kept up to date with what's going on with kickboxing in the Western Cape, or go to www.kickboxer.co.za and that'll give you a national footprint on what's happening with kickboxing, all the events, local and national.
Okay, let's take an ad break. We'll see you now. This is Sports Federation TV. If you've just tuned in, you missed the first segment where we chatted about kickboxing and Cape Fight League. We now move on to a bit of water sport. We chat rowing. We're joined by Tommy Brummer from the Alfred Rowing Club and a member of the Western Cape Rowing. Tommy, you well?
I'm very well today, thank you.
Good, good. Thank you for taking time to come and chat to us about rowing. Give us an overview of the magnitude of rowing. Rowing's a huge sport. Give us just a snippet of the different elements of rowing.
Okay, fine. Rowing is a very international sport, very old organized sport. Started in this country 152 years ago with the establishment of a couple of rowing clubs at the old harbour, the Victorian Alfred Basin. Internationally, there are various kinds of races that happen. The most commonly known one is the Oxford-Cambridge race, which is with boats, big boats with 8 rowers in each, and that's called a boat race, and is about a 6.2 kilometer race down the river with 2 boats.
And rowing generally happens in a straight line. Generally.
Well, yeah, generally it's a straight line. Or your sprint racing is a straight line racing. That's what they do at the Olympics. 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer, and then some 500-meter sprints as well. So in this country, the way that it happens is the boat races take place at Alfred, Port Alfred, on the river there, and there are 2 events. One in the sort of end of summer, or the end of winter rather, with the universities. They all go to the city there and have their races, and then the first week of December, it's the schools races. Okay. They do the boat race, and then the first term of university and school now starting, it's the sprint races, and those are around the country, and this Saturday is the first sprint race at Elgin.
So tell me a bit about this event on Saturday or tomorrow.
Okay, so this race is it's mainly just for the schools. It's the beginning of their sprint race season. There'll be 2 kilometer races, 1 kilometer, and the boats that they use, if we can talk about that, single sculls, it's 1 person rowing in a boat. Then there's doubles, and then there's a boat with 4 people, which is called a quad if they're sculling with 2 oars, and a quad or a 4 if they're doing sweep oars, and then the 8 boat as well. If it's a sweep rowing, it's called an 8. If they are doing scull racing with 2 oars, then of course it's called an octuple.
Sure, that's very technical. Tommy, this event on tomorrow, can anybody come and watch it? I hope that it happens. I mean, we know that there's fires happening in the Elgin Valley at the moment. So let's hope that they can douse all the fires so we can have the event tomorrow. Where exactly is this event?
Okay, just outside of Krabo, there's the Elgin Country Club at the Eikenhof Dam. and it's quite well signposted. As you go into the town of Grabouw, you turn to the left, and then it's about 3 kilometers to the dam. And the racing starts at 7 in the morning and should run all the way through till about 3, 4 in the afternoon. So a full day of racing with all the schoolboys and girls.
And girls. Let's take a look and see what rowing's all about. Check this out. This is Sports Federation TV. If you've just tuned in, we're chatting rowing. We're joined in studio by Tommy Brummer from the Alfred Rowing Club. Tommy, that clip was breathtaking. The scenery is something else. Is that what rowing's always about?
Well, the venues where we row are generally very pretty. Most of the rowing in Cape Town happens at Sikuflei, and a lot of people don't think it's a very nice place because the water's quite green and sometimes a bit smelly. But when there's no wind, it's an absolute beautiful place to row. The other rowing that we do, obviously, as I mentioned, at Grabouw on the Eikenhof Dam, also spectacular setting next to the mountains. And then there's Misverstand Dam on the Berg River, just north of Moreesburg. A lot of training happens there, and the couple, about 3 or 4 events a year go there. And also a stunning setting. A lot of the footage that you saw now was on the Goukou River near Stilbay, a really undiscovered place for rowing, and stunning as you saw.
Yeah. You mentioned the Sikuflei area. Tell us about I know that your club is based there, the Alfred Club. Tell us a bit about the Alfred Club firstly.
Okay, the Alfred Rowing Club is one of the oldest organized sporting clubs in the country. We think maybe the oldest at 152 years. It hasn't always been at Sikuflei. It started at the waterfront, well, what was then the harbour, and some of the boats were stored under the pier. And when the Roggebaai or the foreshore was developed just after or during the Second World War, there was no more space for rowing there, and Alfred had to move down to Sikuflei. There weren't any proper roads there, so they went on sand tracks, but they've been there at 3 different locations around the Vlei, but the last number of years have been incorporated into the Sikuflei Yacht Club, and so the headquarters is there. And then on the same premises, we've got sheds for the Bishops Club and the
Which is the Bishops High School.
Bishops High School
Yep.
Rowing Club and Saxe High School Rowing Club. And then there's a small division there for the Grassy Park development team. They also row with us in that position. Then on the southern shore of Sekhukhune, there's another shed for the Western Cape Development Academy. And then with them, the Rondebosch Boys High have got a portion of the shed. And the last club there is the Peninsula Girls Rowing Club, which is a combination. It's a club with various schools. Girls from a variety of schools around the peninsula can row there. So rowing really is available to any high school girls, and they're very welcome to go and row for Peninsula Girls Rowing Club.
And that hub is synonymous with breeding champions, rowing champions, because you've got the best schools there, you've got your oldest club there, so the expertise is there. How do people find out more about the clubs?
Okay, so the school clubs, obviously, it's if you go to the school, then normally when the kids are just about to leave the prep school or the primary school, then there'll be a mission to the school by the senior school, and they go and harvest some of the rowers and take them on a camp before the school actually starts. So by the time the boys and girls go to school, they already meet some of the older people in the school, and it's quite useful,
Yeah.
and they feel part of the school. The rowing club, or Alfred Rowing Club, we've got a website, we've got contact details that I can give you.
What's the website?
The website, I can't remember the address, but if
Just
someone
Google
wants to
Alfred Rowing
Alfred
Club.
Rowing Club, and it will go straight
Yeah.
there. That's not a problem. And that's a combination of some schoolboys who want to do a bit of extra rowing, university people, and mainly elder guys who've been rowing, obviously learnt at school, rowed through varsity and have continued. So there's quite a lot of depth at the club, and we've got some senior members who've been rowing for many years, and incidentally, two of them went to the World Championships last year and came away with gold medals. So the expertise is there, and of course they let us into a couple of tips from time to time.
Definitely. How do we promote rowing? Why would I want to be a rower, in your opinion?
Okay, so generally one can say it's people who aren't good at ball sports.
That's
the
to rule out a fair amount of people. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's not a high impact sport. It's not like running and physics. So physically fairly demanding, but we don't have many injuries. Guys sometimes get back injuries from doing too much rowing, but it's good on the joints. It's excellent exercise for the whole body, and you're doing it in the great outdoors. And if the weather is bad, there's ergonometers that one can row at. You see them at gyms, and the guys in the gyms normally use them incorrectly, but if you use them correctly, they're very, very good training machines.
Definitely. Tommy, thank you for your time. If people want to know more about rowing, go out to Google and Google the Alfred Rowing Club as well as Western Cape Rowing. I'm sure you'll find lots more information. Tommy, thank you once again.
Thank you very much.
Let's take an ad break, and when we come back, we'll be chatting chess. See you now.